welcome to my channel, Fred Makes Things, and a sewing video for you today. I was going to talk about this project last week, but that didn't happen. I ended up not posting a video. So here we are, a week later than expected, but hey, that's okay. We're talking about the Hot and Heavy Purse or Iron Carrier by Annie. It's a byAnnie pattern. We're going to be doing this video in 4 parts as usual when it comes to these kinds of videos. Part 1 is going to be inspiration, like why am I making this? Like what is the purpose to it? Part 2 is looking at the project. Part 3 is pros, cons, and user error. And then part 4 is final thoughts and sign off. Timestamps are on the screen in the description box and as chapters in the video. So if there's something specific that you would like to go to, feel free to use those timestamps. Before we get started, I do want to say hello to everybody. Hello to the new subscribers, the OGs, anyone in between. Hello to the people who are curious about byAnnie patterns, might have this pattern themselves and wanted to see what others thought of it. Any of that stuff, you are also very much appreciated. You are also very welcome. Your comments are also very welcome in the comment section. If you are new, this is Junior. The moment that the lights come on and I start talking to myself, he thinks it's his time to shine. So anyway, let's talk part 1, inspiration. And I think he's learning that if he gets really cute, he gets to stay for longer. But anyway, part 1, inspiration. So I've had this Annie's pattern for over a year now. Last summer, the summer 2024, I got a Tula Pink Tabby Road pre-order from Pink Door Fabrics. They have like a some sort of subscription box that you can get that they send out quarterly. It's a while ago, so I don't remember. Here's a link though if you want to check out that video. But in it, we got a bunch of half-yard cuts of the new Tula Pink collection. We had some zippers and notions and stuff to go along with it. We got some thread to match with it. Like a bunch of lovely goodies in the box. And they included a pattern, which was this pattern here that we are talking about. This one, the Hot and Heavy Purse or Iron Carrier. The pattern has 2 different sized bags that you can make. There's the large version, right, which would hold like a large iron, and then they have the small version, which would hold, of course, the smaller iron. And I looked at it and I was excited to make it, but then I looked at the pattern and saw that the pattern was like 14 or 15 pages. We'll look at that in a second, but I was like, ooh, that is a lot. And then I also looked at the supply list, and it's a lot of stuff that I didn't have, that I don't normally buy. Things like that. Like they wanted the byAnnie's Soft and Stable, which I didn't have, the mesh fabric, fold over elastic, the strapping. They wanted some hardware as well. And then they also, if you wanted to make the cord wrap, you needed some hook and loop tape too, so some Velcro in a specific size, 3/4 of an inch, and I just didn't have any of that stuff. And honestly, when you look at the supply list, it's like overwhelming at first. Like that's a lot of stuff to kind of collect for a single pattern. Like maybe if you make a lot of bags and stuff, well, if you make a lot of bags and stuff, right? If you've used byAnnie's patterns before, you might have stuff like that lying around, but I didn't. So I think I started collecting the items once, then I gave up, moved on and it took over a year to come back to trying it out. So recently, like in the month of October, I started doing the collection again. I looked online, or I looked and saw, and I said, you know, I might just try to use some of the stuff that I already have. So instead of using the Annie Soft and Stable, I had some other non-branded foam stabilizer from Joann Fabrics from some point in the past that I said, oh, well, it's a small bag. I'm sure I have enough of the foam stabilizer. Decided not to do it. The Polypro strapping, I thought, oh, well, I might have missed the Polypro strapping, actually, looking back on it. I had, like, the yardage, too, was a bit, like, overwhelming for me. Like, they wanted 3/8 of a yard, 5/8. 5/8 of a yard for a bunch of this stuff, and I was like, okay, well, I don't have, like, at the time I didn't have anything that I wanted to make into this bag, and, you know, there was just a lot of reasons that I just kept putting off this bag. And then I got the Ginger Quilters mystery box in October, and specifically 2 of their fabrics, and I was like, ooh, I really like those fabrics. I think I'm gonna finally maybe make this bag with those fabrics. I had ordered mesh online at some point in the past, so I had mesh. I had zippers, not byAnnie's, but I had zippers that I figured would do the job. Like I said, I had the foam. I thought, okay, it's time, let's make it. So I started cutting and working with it, and then I decided, you know what, I actually think I need the I need more thread, and I need strapping. I missed the strapping. So off to Michael's I went, and Michael's didn't have strapping. They had nothing. It was completely picked over, and I lucked out and they had the thread that I wanted. So I was like, oh, okay, well, at least that's it. And then it's like, well, I have to go online and I have to order the strapping, and if I'm ordering the strapping, I might as well order the soft and stable as well, because when I looked at the foam that I had, it wasn't quite big enough. They wanted an 18 by 22 inch piece, and I had like a 15 by 18 piece, I think, something like that. Like, it wasn't large enough. So then I had to wait for that, and then I got overwhelmed, and then I got frustrated, and you know how it goes. And so I ended up putting everything off and taking forever to make this project. So that was my journey, longer than I expected to talk about, but that was my journey to get to the bag. So let's talk about the bag. It is now time to move the nuisance. So let's talk part 2, taking a look at the bag itself. I've had to refilm this because Junior is being a big butt. So anyway, here's the bag. Here's the front of it. Here's the back of it. Here's the bottom of it. Here's one of the sides. It's kind of really cool how they designed that. One of the sides. Here's the other side. Then you have your 2 like carrying handles. And you've got your interior. On the one side of your interior, you have pockets. On the one side of the interior, you've got solid pockets. And then the other side, you have like a tighter mesh so that you can kind of slide things into, but it's open on the bottom. It's not sewn down. So it works for different purposes. You can see that there are sides sewn in so that nothing falls out of the zipper on the side, that you have like a proper like section in the bottom. And then it even has like a little thing that you can put in the bottom, right? This is cardboard with like a little cardboard cover on it so that it holds itself in place. For the fabric that I used this beautiful circle fabric that I ordered from Sewers Club a couple of years ago. I think it was in one of my very first Sewers Club's haul on the channel. I've been waiting for something to make with this. I had 2 yards of it, so I really liked it. And when I first got this project, or this pattern, I thought this might be a good pattern for it, but I didn't have anything to go with it. And when I was out and about, I never thought to buy anything to go with it. And then with the Ginger Quilter sent this blue, like wave kind of fabric, and I thought that's very pretty. And then I also got this fabric from them too. I think these are art gallery fabrics, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. But I got this blue one and I got this, and I thought, like, how pretty does all of this look together? I did mess around with a couple of other different blue fabrics that I had. I kind of thought about mixing a cream in to make all of like the creamy bits in the blue pop, in the main fabric pop. But in the end, I decided I liked these 3 fabrics together, and I didn't have quite enough of this. I only had half a yard of this like blue metallic cross fabric, but I thought I figured I could make it work. For the most part, I did. Assembly is interesting. Like I said, this pattern is huge. So you have all of the instructions for 2 patterns. You have some of your general kind of instructions on the first, and the instructions refer you back to this. Then you have your cutting instructions, cut and quilt, right? So you've got A, cut, and or you have number 1, cut and quilt. They walk you through cutting, then they walk you through quilting. Then you have number 2, prepare the components, right? A is doing zippers. I misread that, or the instructions are unclear. I'm not sure. But you did the zippers, you did the binding, you made your little tabs on the bottom, then you made your side panels, then you made your stabilizer sleeve, and you have little boxes so that you can check things off as you go through to keep yourself organized. Then you have your inner pocket, right? So you do all of your prep first, every single step of your preparation first. Everything can get labeled so you're not confused, right? Everything kind of flows together really well. And then you have your part 4, which is assembling the bag. You have several instructions on these, right? How to do everything, how to get everything ready to go, right? And then they have links to tutorials and everything like that. And then you just keep on going. Then you have your cord wrap, which I didn't make, I didn't cut, I didn't do anything for the cord wrap at the end. Because this is designed to be like a purse carrier. And then they also gave you labels so that you could cut out your labels and keep track of everything if you need it. I didn't bother cutting them out, but they do come available. Okay, that was a bit clumsy. And then we had our pocket, or our template. We have for the large bag on one side, for the smaller bag on the other side. And then I traced that out and cut it out like so. So yeah, everything was made first. Everything was in theory labeled and ready to be put together, and then you put it all together, right? Step 1 was quilting it. I quilted these large kind of diamond shapes on it because I don't know, I like the diamond shape. I also did a really dense diamond for me anyway, rather than a larger, looser diamond, because I thought it would look better with the shape of the bag. And then I did just straight quilting on the little pocket. They wanted us to use foam stabilizer on this little pocket, but I just used a little bit of insole fleece instead, because I figure that the pocket is just on the front of the bag, right? And it has the stabilizer behind it, so I didn't think that it needed it. It's a little cute little small pocket, probably large enough for a card, right? So just like a little pocket to hold things in the front. It doesn't have a top, right? This is like binding. They had as a bind over the pocket for it, but we have the front pocket. So how it went is we quilted it, then we cut out the template. Then they had us mark up a whole bunch of lines for placement and stuff like that. Like you can kind of see in the bottom, there's still some green or some red chalk in the bottom, so you kind of knew where things were supposed to sit, where things were supposed to be ready to go. And then we did our front pocket first. We sewed that down. Then we sewed down the interior pockets. We did the mesh on one side, right? Then we did the pocket on the other side. And then I knew he was coming back. Then we sewed down the handles. They had us start on the bottom, like join them on the bottom. Mine didn't join as nicely as I could have had it go. Sew it up, make a ballot, what's it called? The ballot box? Something, right, for stability, and then go back down. I don't quite remember how the instructions said to do it, but I ended up doing it this way. We did one side, then we did the other side, and then they wanted us to attach a D-ring or a triangular ring here, one on one side, one on the opposite side to hang keys and things like that off of, but I opted not to. I didn't like any of the hardware that I had floating around with this project, and I knew personally I would probably never actually hang anything off of those rings, and I wanted to save the hardware that I do have for future projects, so I didn't do it. And then we did a top stitch along the strapping so that it looks nice and pretty too, and it does have that strapping inside. They wanted polypro. I think I ordered cotton from Amazon, but now, right, it's nice. It's a nice strong feeling strapping inside. And when you sewed your strapping on, it had ended up, right, covering your raw edges of your pocket. It ended up sewing down your pockets on the inside so things sat nicely. From there, they had us attach one side of our interior panels to hold things in place. Sewed on the zipper on one side, attached the panel to the other side, sewed the zipper onto the other side, then bound, right, did your binding and your finishing, and then you were basically done. This project took forever. Cutting it out wasn't too long, but assembling it did take me a good couple of days, probably 10 hours altogether, start to stop, maybe a little bit longer. I know there was definitely times of frustration while I was working on it. But these instructions are very much, very like step 1, step 2, step 3. They don't leave anything out. They go into really great detail on how to do things. Sometimes it feels like their detail is a little too much, but that's because I'm kind of used to some of these techniques and how to make things. So I just kind of, when I kind of knew what I was doing, I kind of just went along with it. And when I was completely confused and stuff, I often took a minute to read them, think about it, read it again, and then make it. And that seemed to work pretty well for me. So now let's get into part 3, pros, cons, and user error. Pro, It's a really well-made bag. It's a nicely finished bag. It is a large bag. It can hold a lot of stuff. Like I said, this is for the mini iron. Here's a photo of it. With my Tula Pink Oliso mini iron that I got for my birthday in it. So it's quite a bit of room. Like there's quite a bit of space to do things with it. If I were to try to just load it up with stuff here, it would take like a lot. But I have some like skeins of yarn from when I talked about stuff last week. So here's one of those layer cakes. Here's some cotton. See, I always say I need to clean up my desk area, and then it comes times to talk about things, and then I need them to show you like how much space things go in. Oh, who saw that coming? It's at the end. So it holds quite a bit. Here's a photo, or here's I don't know, a bunch of different photos from different angles of how this actually looks sitting somewhere, so you can kind of see size and how things are held inside of it and all of that good stuff. Because, you know, I don't have a large filming space, and for projects like this, I don't think you ever really get a good idea of exactly what it all looks like. So here are some photos for that. But yeah, so it's large. It looks nice. The steps are very comprehensive. It walks you through everything. Like I said, maybe sometimes into too much detail, but you know, depending on how you learn, how you read, that might be a good thing. I didn't look up to see if there was a specific tutorial for this bag, but several times in the instructions it mentions if you need more information, here is a tutorial for it, and they gave you a $5 coupon that you could use towards a number of different things, right? So if you needed something specific, you could look it up and you'd have like a $5 coupon to be able to check out different things, which is nice. I like how there is an interior like side panels, so that when you open this, nothing slides out. If your zippers slide down to the bottom, nothing slides out. I like how we hid this front pocket in the strapping. I like how they designed the strapping to go all the way around in one continuous shape. And I really like the shape of this project. Like, I think there's a lot that speaks to it. And I really like the way that it is when it's finished. Cons. Editing Fred here. My biggest con is the approach that byAnnie takes with this pattern, with this project in itself. I don't have anything negative to say about the pattern in general. Everything worked out really well, but I do have a problem with how they've gone about some of the other things that are around the pattern. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but they give you a $5 coupon code for their like add-on tutorial kinds of videos, and I just went and looked at that. So the pattern itself is $14.95, and then they have like a add-on video series, video tutorial kind of available as like an accompaniment to the pattern. So I'm guessing that this add-on helps walk you through some of the more complicated the complicated steps of the pattern. and it's $5. Now, when you get this pattern, you get a $5 discount coupon, right, that you can use for this specific add-on. But what happens if you lose that coupon, or you don't have that coupon available to you, or what have you? Now, the pattern that was $14.95 has now become $20 because you just spent an extra, potentially just spent an extra $5 to get access to the add-on. And some people, me included, are very much visual learners and really do well with seeing steps broken down for you. It's why I like the Sewers Club tutorials so much, is because of how well they break the patterns down for you and the steps. And so having that extra $5 to me feels a bit more like gatekeeping. And then I was even looking, they have some stuff that's available for free, but right on it, it says, oh, like this was public before we started charging you, so we've kept it public. And it sounded a little cranky in the writing. And I was like, oh, okay. And then when it comes to your supplies list, like they want you to use their branded stuff only. They want you to use like their soft and stable foam. Okay, I understand that. That thing had such a chemical smell to it when I first opened it that I ended up having to like let it air out and leave the room for a bit. They want you to use their mesh. Okay, their zippers. Okay, and it goes on and on and on. And why? Like, I understand wanting to use their products for their patterns, but the way that they wrote about it, like they wrote about their zippers, or zippers are a unique 4.5 millimeter with an extra wide zipper tape. So when you add them together, it's going to be about like a 5 millimeter zipper, right? Like, which is fairly standard. It's what I use on a lot of my projects. But the way that they wrote it, it made it seem like, oh, well, we are superior because we use this 4.5 millimeter zipper, or, oh, like you're doing it wrong if you don't have these products for us. And to me, that just starts to make the project feel overwhelming and for the costs to add up. So, I didn't pay a whole lot for the mesh or the foam stabilizer. I'll put the pricing on the screen for you. But the sheer idea that you're spending $15 on a pattern, possibly an extra $5 on the add-on tutorial if you need it, if you want it, and if you don't have a coupon. And then also all of this other money on foam and mesh and zippers and this and that and yada yada, it all adds up. So your $15 pattern ends up costing you what, closer to $40 just for their supplies that they want you to have, and that's not including the fabric itself. And for me, I like to try to keep crafts and hobbies more accessible than that. Like that is a very real roadblock, I will say. I can't think of the word, but that could stop some people from wanting to make this pattern. It did for me. It took me over a year to finally be like, okay, I'm going to make this pattern. Then I just don't like that. I don't like that as a whole, and I don't like how being on the byAnnie website made me feel, and I don't like how reading some of the instructions in the pattern itself made me feel. Like, it almost made me feel like if I can't afford these things that they want me to use, then I shouldn't even be bothering to make the pattern. And that is not a nice place to sit. It's one of the reasons I had such a hard time working on this project. Now, that's not to say that the project itself was bad. Like I've just said, I really enjoyed working on it. And there have been people in my comment section, a couple of my subscribers, who rave about byAnnie patterns. And for that, I completely understand. It's a very good pattern. I just don't like how the company presents itself. It could just be a me thing, but that is my biggest con. Now we'll get back into user error. User error. So I knew going into it that there might be a few issues because I was using fabric that was slightly smaller than what they wanted, right? They wanted 5/8 of a cut. I had half a yard cut, especially for this blue fabric. So when it came time to finally cut out my interior panel pieces here, my side panel pieces, I did not have enough of this blue fabric, this blue coordinating fabric, to have matching panels. So one of my panels is the coordinating fabric. My other panel is the panel that they wanted it to be. Now, looking at this sleeve, I easily could have done something with this sleeve to make it smaller, to do things with it, to make it so that I could have matching interior panels. I also had more than enough of this blue fabric, so I could have easily made it so that it was just the main pattern rather than this. But when I was cutting it out, I was being stubborn, and so we ended up with two different patterns. When I was quilting, I'm not sure what was going on. Annie's Soft and Stable does not have any glue. It does not have any, it has like a texture on it to help hold the fabric in place. And they recommended basting spray in the instructions. I don't like basting spray. I have it. I prefer not to use it. And so I pinned the heck out of it, but still there is some slippage and stuff, and we've got quite a few puckering on some of the parts of the quilting. I had planned on hiding this puckering, especially right in here, but I accidentally sewed the pocket onto the wrong side. But there's some puckering throughout that I'm a bit annoyed by. And I don't know if it's technique for me, if it's the Soft and Stable, if it's a mix of both. I pinned the heck out of it. And it was only a small piece, right? It was only like an 18 by 22 inch piece or something like that. So it wasn't huge, and I probably used like 20 pins on it, like 20 safety pins to keep everything in place so I didn't have to worry about it. And yet my very first 21 by 17. But my very first like initial lines running through, and I got puckers. The interior isn't bad. There's no real issues. It's just the exterior that had some issues. Sewing the strapping on, right? You can see these don't line up as perfectly. There is a small gap here. I could have been careful, right? I could have made this come together a little bit better so it sit a little bit better. It didn't matter because of how they had you lay everything else out. So that gap was like accounted for in the rest of it. I could have been cleaner with how I sewed it down. Like you can see here, right, there's some sort of weird gapping here, like I think my thread broke or something. And then the ballot boxes I could have taken more time on. I could have taken more time on attaching this part too, but like I said, this is delayed by a week because I was very frustrated with some of the project, with how it was coming together, and I ended up having to walk away from it for a little while. Again, nothing really against Annie, right? A lot of this was me and my impatience. I pulled out the walking foot to attach the strapping to the bag itself, which I think was a really smart idea because I was going through, right, the strapping, and I was going through the foam, so that was quite a bit of like thickness for the two layers. I probably could have done okay without it, but I just wanted to make sure that like everything was nice and stable. And then somehow, even though I sewed these in exactly the spot they're supposed to be, when you look at them on the side, this one is off like quite a bit. So right here's your zipper, and then here's your pull tab. So I don't know how that happened. And this one is the same. Not as bad as the other side, but the same. I don't like pull tabs in general. I would have left these off had I been thinking, but I was trying to be as like true to the pattern as possible. So there's like a lot of minor little issues all together that kind of made for me to be just frustrated with the bag in general, but in the end I'm very happy with it. So let's get into part 4, final thoughts and sign off. I am okay with this pattern. I don't know if I'll ever come back to it. I might maybe think about making the larger pattern, because I think that with the size of the template, like that would make a decent sized bag. Like it says a large iron carrier, but like I think that would just make like a decent sized bag in general. And I think that it would make something looking very, very similar to like a proper bowling bag. This looks very similar to like a bowling bag, right? And this is a decent size on its own. So like, can you imagine what this would look like as a bag? Like I think that would be so, so cool. I think it would look like such a cool looking bag. So I might come back to it for that purpose. And now that I've struggled through it once, I wouldn't have as much of an issue maybe going through it again. But that's sometime way down in the future. It's definitely not anytime soon. I'm never going to use this as a carrying bag for my iron. I don't go on sewing retreats. I don't need to take my iron anywhere. And if I did, I would just probably put the silicone trivet protective mat thing that comes with it onto it, wrap the cord around it, and then maybe put it into like a shoe bag or something to protect it, and then bring it with me that way. I cannot imagine, or a shoe sleeve. Like years ago I made a whole bunch of sleeves that kind of look just like this, right? Kind of just look like this. I would just stick my iron in that and then baby it on the way to wherever it is going. But I cannot, for the foreseeable future, see a time in my life where I want to take my iron anywhere, you know? So yeah, I like this bag. I may not make it again. I love the way that the fabrics worked together. I was a little worried that this black would be too harsh, right? But I think there's enough of this dark blue and stuff going through it that it kind of fits in, kind of goes with it and looks intentional. So that is really cool. And so yeah, one more time, here's a photo of the finished bag for you so you can kind of see it all in its glory. But it was an interesting experience working with it. It was a bit of a frustrating experience working with it, but again, that's probably more user error than something to do with the pattern itself. So in conclusion, if I make this bag again in the future, I might make the larger one. I do not imagine myself making this smaller bag again. Even using the byAnnie's branded stuff, I still had like a hard time with some of the steps. Again, mostly on me, not so much on them. I've said this in a few videos in the past. I say it all of the time, but sometimes it's better to walk away from what you're making rather than trying to push through, right? We don't cut when we're tired, right? We don't start a new project when we're feeling overwhelmed with some of our other projects. And we don't keep going with a project when we're frustrated with it. Because when we continue in a project that we are frustrated, often it doesn't result in perseverance and having something great at the end. It results in a mediocre finish that you're not happy with. And with this one particular bake here, there are certain things about it that I'm just not happy with. I'm happy with other things, like the binding turned out pretty nicely, the bag looks well, the colors work well, right? It's a very usable bag. I'm not afraid it's going to fall apart. But this bake should have taken me just a couple of days, and I worked on it for over 2 weeks because I kept making mistakes with it. And it had nothing to do with the pattern makers, and it had everything to do with me. So I will use this. Knowing me, it'll end up holding yarn because that's what everything does right now. But I do like the bag. I do like the size of the bag. I like the shape of the bag. I like the bits of like the side panels in the bag. Like, there's a lot to commend it, but just because I personally had such a hard time with it, I just don't know how I feel about it. So yeah, I guess that's my take on this byAnnie's pattern. Have you made it byAnnie's bake before? I know I have a few of my subscribers who have made Annie stuff. They love byAnnie. They talk really highly about them. They talk about how great the products that they sell are, how high quality they are, and I have to agree. The Soft and Stable, right, felt nice to work with. Smelled so much like chemicals, but it felt nice to work with. The mesh was really nice to work with. The pattern worked really well. So I can see it. So are you one of those people? Like, are you like a live or die byAnnie's? Have you been curious about them? What other patterns of theirs have you made that you think that maybe I should try out? I'm not saying no to this company in the future by any means. I just might be saying no to this bag in the future, you know? So yeah, what do we have coming up? Friday is a Kitnip unboxing for you. Monday is another unboxing for you, another mystery box unboxing for you. Wednesday is our monthly quilt update video, and then I'm uncertain what Friday is going to be. So if any of that stuff interests you, do think about subscribing. Subscribe if you liked this kind of a breakdown of this video, if you liked Junior interrupting it a million times. If you didn't mind me kind of getting distracted and going off topic a little bit. Subscribe if you want to see more of that, if you want to see what's coming up. Like the video if you've reached the end. Like the video if you like this project or you like me talking about it for probably too long. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go. So with all of that being said, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching, and I will talk with you again soon.